Greetings and salutations, good people. It's your man, Nishan, your boy HT, the light bulb of higher thought, and we are here with lessons in deeper wisdom.
Whoa! Whoa! Shout out to our crowd in the back, our live studio audience.
Live studio audience, they're in another plane of existence, but they show their appreciation every show.
Every time.
It's amazing.
And I'm grateful for it.
I am grateful for them too. But before we get started, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping because I want to make sure that we are giving a shout out to the people who are subscribers on our YouTube channel, who are subscribers to our podcast. We got some new people. I want to say shout out to Camry and Ray and some people who have been leaving comments on our podcast as well as our YouTube channel. If you are currently not a subscriber, please subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that like button so that you can get our updates, and hit the bell to make sure that every time we upload an episode, you get the notifications. So you can
we know that you're waiting.
You say what?
We know that you're waiting. We know that you're excited about lessons in deeper wisdom, to hear us talk about interesting topics, because, you know.
Well, the goal is to explore and explain and to help people to understand or gain their own understanding of various topics. So we want to make sure that if you are watching this or listening to this, you share it with your friends, ask them questions. If you have questions, put them down in the comments. We do read them and we will answer your questions. So, housekeeping complete.
Thank you guys. So
you're ridiculous. It's ridiculous, man.
So our topic for today, to get some more wisdom on.
Wisdom.
The principle of vibration.
Now see, now you're talking about my first love here, the Kabbalion 7 principles. I love the Kabbalion 7 principles. So, and of the 7 principles, the principle of mentalism and vibration are my favorites by far.
What is the Kabbalion for those who do not know?
Okay, the Kabbalion is a book that was written by the 3 initiates, quote unquote. There are, debates about who actually wrote it, but the philosophies are actually about 3,000 years old. They predate most common societies, and what they talk about are the laws of the universe and the laws that govern how the universe works. Excuse me. And here's the fun part. These laws are actually starting to be discovered by science now. And the principle of vibration is one of my favorites because quantum physics has started to understand, with their new discoveries and new understandings, they're starting to understand how accurate the principle of vibration actually is. A 3,000-year-old idea or concept that quantum physics is just now beginning to touch on. The principle of vibration states that everything vibrates, everything moves. This means that everything that exists in the universe is vibrating or moving at some particular vibrational frequency. That includes all things material, all things energetic, and all things spiritual and mental. These are concepts that, we kind of generally understand, but as we are, as science is beginning to advance, we're starting to get a deeper understanding of what that means. So, okay, you want me to dive in, or you need a break? Or
No. I mean, my mind is moving. It's just I was thinking about as you're explaining this all. It's like, it's interesting. Like, it's a 3,000-year-old concept.
Yes,
or at least it was written about allegedly 3,000 years ago, and they're just now saying that this could possibly be a thing is amazing to me, because it's like, all right, at what point did we forget, and the process of forgetting and then remembering, because it's not like they're discovering the concept, they're just realizing it for humanity.
Well, okay, there are reasons why this information was taken from us. You cannot control someone who understands this concept. It's not possible, because it breaks down some very profound barriers that have been put in our place and put in front of us in order to stop us from accessing this information. So why is it important? We'll get to that in just a second. Let me back up. So what science is discovering right now and you can get a visual representation of this if you look on YouTube. There's a thing called the helical model, and they talk about how our solar system moves. And I use this when I teach to give people a visual reference as to what I'm talking about. So most people understand that the Earth revolves around the sun, and they understand that the Earth is tilted slightly on its axis, and that it rotates on its own axis. Right? That's general. You learn that in elementary school type stuff. But the model that we're taught is that the sun is sitting in the middle, and all the planets just kind of go around it on this nice little even plane, and it looks really cool. Except that's not accurate. Okay, the actual representation of how our solar system moves is that our sun is racing around our galactic spiral at about 500,000 miles per hour. So the sun itself is moving really fast around the galactic spiral. We, as the planets that are actually caught in its gravitational pull, are orbiting around it in these wicked spirals, going around the sun as it's racing around the galactic spiral. Then our galaxy itself is racing through space at about 500,000 miles per hour towards the Andromeda galaxy, which is racing towards us. So the galaxy is moving. All of the galaxies in our supercluster are moving. Our supercluster itself is moving. And then if you go backwards from that, because there's another video I show people where you go from the scale of the universe, from all the way out to the universal scale, all the way back down to the woman's eye, and then inward to her cells, her molecules, her atomic particles, and then down to her quarks. All of those things are moving as well. So when you get down to the quark scale, so you're going from inside the woman's eye down to the cells that make up her eye, down to the molecules that make up the cells of her eye. Each of those molecules has a nucleus with electrons orbiting around it, that billions and millions of them, all of which are in motion. And then the nuclei themselves are made up of quarks, which are constantly popping in and out of reality and constantly vibrating and moving. When you get down below that, you're looking at vibrational strings, if you believe in string theory, that are just vibrating at a universal scale, and thus creating the quarks that pop in and out of reality. So everything that is vibrating at various rates, and that's what the principle of vibration states. This 3,000-year-old philosophy.
So that was very well put, by the way. Very well put. Thank you. I am thinking of the idea of, one, how we are moving in relative to how the sun is moving, right? In that model. Where is the wind? All right. Like, why does it not feel like that in the wind blowing and the way that we're moving? I know that the wind doesn't necessarily come from outer space.
Okay. You're thinking solar winds? Because if people are going to think you're talking about the wind on Earth, and the wind on Earth is controlled by the gravitational pull of our moon. And,
there's other winds.
But the solar winds are actually the particles that exist in space that we are racing through. So it's
more or less that is still hitting us. We just don't necessarily, how would I put that? We don't receive it in the way that we observe.
We're shielded from it. So we're shielded by a number of things. One, the sun has, because it's so powerful, it has its own coronal effect. It's got an aura of radiation and magnetism that it radiates outward, that we're caught in. And the gravity of it, we're caught in all of that. So that's why we're in orbit around it. So as it's racing through space, this thing has this coronal aura around it, which basically blocks a lot of the solar winds that would normally hit us. Then on top of that, we have our own electromagnetic field, which blocks a lot of the sun's radiation and radiation from solar winds. So it's the electromagnetic field of the Earth that basically protects us from a lot of those particles, those radiated particles.
Okay.
Getting all sciencey and stuff.
Yeah, I like it. I like science. This is why I'm asking these questions.
I'm with that. I like science. I love science.
So let's go this. Our galaxy is moving. Andromeda is moving. And you named the third one?
Well, that's Andromeda and the Milky Way are both a part of a galactic supercluster, which is a cluster of galaxies.
So they're a cluster of galaxies, right? Which
Right.
means they're within vicinity. So are we, with Andromeda moving towards us and we moving towards it, at some point within time, they will collide?
Yes.
Am I correct?
Absolutely. They're on a collision course.
Is there a timetable currently? And then what does that look like? Because that sounds like amazingly terrifying.
Well, it will be the end of everything that we know as
This
our
existence.
galaxy. Well, as our galaxy, we won't see it. I mean, you're talking like a couple billion years before that's going to happen.
Hey, I could. Hey,
I mean, if you
I
eat
eat my
right,
vegetables.
if you eat your vegetables, maybe.
Yeah.
But there's a good chance our civilization will be long, long, long dead before that ever happens. And there's things that are going to happen long before that happens. So there's going to be, that part I'm not worried about. But it's interesting to find. It's interesting to see, that they're watching these things, and the movement on that scale is so slow that our lifetimes are a blip in comparison to the celestial scale. So it won't really matter that much. But we're getting off subject.
Oh, yeah, no, I was done. I just wanted to go back and clarify a couple things.
I got
know
you, I
people
got
will
you.
be wondering and having questions, and so they'll be like, well, wait a minute.
Yes, we're going to collide with Andromeda at some point.
Yes.
Yeah, that
I'm
sounds good. That sounds good. If anybody who's still living at that time is going to be a bad day.
I'm definitely watching it on my hologram.
It's going to be a bad 700,000 years or so as the planets start to collide.
That closest, when they get close, oh man, that's got to be a crazy feeling.
It's going to be terrifying for anything that's living in there in either galaxy.
Man. Okay. Anyway. moving on.
So the getting back to the principle of vibration. So we now know that everything in the celestial moves, everything in the atomic moves. So everything that is us moves, and people always ask me, well, am I moving? Yes. Is the table moving? Yes. Because it's vibrating. Okay. Everything is vibrating. So if you come from that understanding and everything is vibrating, then you have to go, well, okay, well, why can't I pass my hand through this table? Why can't I pass my hand through other solid objects? Because the illusion of, just like the illusion of stillness, because there is no such thing as something sitting still. It's sort of the same thing as like opposing magnetic fields. They repel each other. Mm-hmm. So we vibrate and give off a electromagnetic charge. That charge is at a similar frequency to the table and other solid objects. Therefore, we cannot pass through them because my electromagnetic field will not allow my cells to pass through the electromagnetic field of other things that are at a similar vibrational frequency.
Because then they would not be themselves. Is that?
There would be no individualism.
Right.
Okay. So they're vibrating at a similar frequency, even though they're vibrating differently. So you can't pass through those two things. That's why you get separation and what we consider to be the material world, or the ability to pick up objects and have them be separate from us.
Yeah. Same way as you can have a million people, but they're all different. They can't be the other person.
Right.
The other person can't be you. And I can't put my hand through this table because at some point my hand would have to be the table
Exactly.
as it's going through it.
It would become, everything would mash into one thing.
It would mash into one thing, and then it would have to pop out on the other side of the table, and that's just not.
It would never pop out. It would become.
Yeah.
It would merge.
It would merge, and then you wouldn't see your hand because it wouldn't exist at that moment.
Right. You would just be part of the table. And that's sort of the thing, is like when you're talking about vibration, you're talking literally about frequencies, just like you would with sound or what you would in the light spectrum. These are all various frequencies of a particular thing. But if you understand that everything is vibrating, then you understand that everything has its own specific frequency at which it's vibrating. And so, for instance, we talk about who are we? We are three selves. We talked about this before, the three aspects of self: the physical self, the mental self, and the spiritual self, each of which are us, but vibrating at different frequencies. So in truth, we are three beings merged into one. We are the mental self that we consider to be us. We are the physical body in which we inhabit, and we are the spiritual energy which transcends the physical. But each of them are vibrating at similar but different frequencies. The spiritual vibrating in the higher frequency, the mental slightly lower below that, and then the physical as the lowest form of energy. So the reason why they connect is because they all are us. Each of them is a vibrational aspect of us. And when you begin to understand that, you begin to understand that everything in the universe mirrors that. There is a spiritual component to everything, a mental component to everything, and a physical component. So when you get into some of these practices like shamanism and druidism, and they talk about the energy in a rock or the spirit in a tree, they're talking about the higher vibrational frequency of that physical manifestation. So when people talk about those higher vibrational planes, they're talking about the spiritual manifestation, the spiritual plane in which our spirits and the spirits of all other things exist, which is a mirror of our world, so to speak.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's like an invisible mirror. Because it's we don't see what's in that mirror with these eyes.
Exactly.
And so I think we are very, very used to, and I say this a lot, very, very used to taking in what's in these eyes as what is, as all that is. And so now when you are on these, when you're talking about these higher planes of existence, it's almost kind of like, you could think of it as something like, okay, like a table, right? Something is so solid and solidified because all of these atoms are vibrating so closely together and compact in one space. Mm-hmm. And whereas the further out of that you go, they vibrate faster and faster and faster to the point where you can't see it because it's vibrating so fast.
Well, here's a good. I love taking these spiritual ideas and concepts and bringing science back into it because it makes people very angry. But so like, okay, I'll give you neutrinos. Okay, neutrinos are a particle that we know exists. It's a very rare particle. Actually, I'm sorry, it's not rare. It's abundant, but it vibrates at a frequency and has so little mass that it passes through matter as if it wasn't there. Neutrinos actually pass through our world all the time, and we never notice them. In order for us to detect them, what they had to do was actually flash freeze, like I think it was like nitrogen or something, and then detect what was passing through it, because it slows it down just enough for the detectors to detect the neutrinos are passing through it. So neutrinos are passing through everything all the time. We just don't notice it, but it is a physical particle that has very, very little mass.
Using ISIS time control. Dope.
It's interesting when you start to understand that solid is not a real thing.
No.
It's an illusionary concept, just like still is an illusionary concept. It doesn't really exist. Because of the principle of vibration, we understand that everything is just vibrating at various frequencies and that there are gaps. There are highs and there are lows. So something vibrating at a higher frequency can pass through something at a lower frequency without it ever noticing. So when we talk about these various planes of existence, they exist on top of our world. They just exist at a higher vibrational frequency that we can't see with these two eyes. I mean, come on, we can't even see the visible light spectrum. I mean, we can't even see all of the light spectrum with our eyes.
We see very, very little.
Exactly.
Maybe 1% if we even knew how to put a percentage on it.
Well, and that's what I mean. It's like we think that the limited vision that we have for the universe is all the universe is, and that's not true. There is way more out here than we are that's commonly accepted to be true. There's way more that exists.
Yeah, and it's always interesting because they were like, oh, we did this study and we found out that this animal or this bug or this insect can view things in this way or has extrasensory perception of this. And we are like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. I wonder what that's like. Well, you can, you know what I mean? It's a matter of being able to, I guess, take in that frequency and accepting it.
Well, the hard part is this: we've been conditioned. It's sort of like, think of it like music, and I love this analogy because it's like, think of it like music. We've been conditioned to listen only to R&B. R&B is all there is. There is no such thing as rock and roll or country or classical or any of that. It's only R&B. And when you do that, if you hear classical, it sounds like noise. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't conform with what R&B is supposed to be. You're like, that's not music, because it doesn't conform to what we've been conditioned to believe. It doesn't mean it's not true. It's just music arranged in a different way. Okay, it sounds arranged in a different way to create a different genre of music. And that's really what has to be understood in order to begin to understand why the principle of vibration is so profound and so fundamental to our very existence. Because everything that is a different genre of music.
Yeah, and even I love that you brought up classical music, because I find that the reason why most people don't listen to classical music is because, for the most part, we haven't been conditioned to even try to understand it.
Well, it affects, like you said, we were talking earlier about languages. Learning another language affects your brain. It changes the way you think. Mm-hmm. The same applies to music. When like, for instance, on my way here, one of the things my wife said, my wife Dana told me, if you're going to go and do this show, you need to raise your vibration, because, I wasn't where I needed to be. And I was like, I'm on it. And so in the car, I pick specific music to help me get my vibration to a place where I can communicate in a way that's upbeat and excited. Because and when we were doing Detroit Rap TV, the one thing I told every artist that we got involved with was, if you're not excited about your music, why should anybody else be? You know what I mean?
That's very important.
Exactly.
Because that's got to translate.
Exactly. And so for this topic, I love this topic, and I wanted that to translate into what we were talking about, so that, because if people gain this understanding of how the universe works, then you get a deeper understanding of what kind of power we wield. You get a deeper understanding of why things happen the way they happen. So, for instance, when we're talking about the three selves, why do we have the friend group that we have? It's because the three aspects of yourself are vibrating at a particular frequency, some at the spiritual at the highest, the mental at the middle, and then the physical at the lowest. But together, they create a harmony, which is your frequency. Now, your mental is what sort of defines that, because it determines how much of the spiritual is let through and how much it affects the physical. So the mind controls the body and is influenced by the spirit. So therefore, if you begin to get those three things in harmony, vibrating at a similar frequency and vibrating in harmony with one another. For instance, if your spirit is telling you, you need to get away from this person because this person is not good for you, your mind is saying, but I'm going to rationalize and I really want to be around this person. Physically, this person is making you sick. Okay, because their vibration is constantly around you, and it's in discord it's a discordant frequency that harms your frequency.
Now, that is a very, 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 very important note, because I don't think people quite attribute a lot of their physical symptoms to frequency illness.
Well, and that's the problem, is that we think of it as separate. We think the mind has no effect on the body. And when people say that, like, oh, yeah, that sounds good. I'm like, no, really. There's literally a thing in medicine called the placebo effect, where you take two groups of people, give one group the actual medicine, the other group a sugar pill, and some of the people in the sugar pill group get better because they believe they were taking the medicine. And it's that belief that literally changes their body chemistry. So your mind has a profound effect on how your body operates. And if you can learn to control that, you can literally learn to control different things in your body. There's a guy who, I can't remember his name, but he does these extreme cold experiments where he goes and sits in Arctic water that would freeze the blood of anyone else who got into it. And people are like, you don't try this at home because it will kill you. It will stop your heart immediately. He goes and sits in the water and meditates, and his body temperature stays at 98.6 or 98.3. And it's like, wait a minute, how does he do that? Okay, it's because, and he tells you, don't try this, because he's learned to meditate and allow his mind to literally regulate the temperature of his body.
And that, I was going to touch on that, because in my, I guess, teachings of meditation, right, I found a lot of different ways to be able to teach meditation and to be able to explain a lot of these higher concepts just in practice in everyday ways. And so I use music a lot when I teach meditation, and sometimes I will have people to like, one reason people don't like classical music because they feel like it's a lot happening. It's too much to figure out. It's a lot of chaos.
It's very analytical.
Yeah, and they're like, okay, well, wait a minute. What is this? There's too many instruments happening here. So, okay, well, can you choose a simple, or even jazz? Can you pick out a single song and a single instrument
and
focus on that, and then figure out, okay, what are the levels of this, right? What's the tempo? What's the frequency? What is it? What is the frequency and vibration of that instrument?
Yeah.
But probably use different words like tempo and whatnot. Right. And so now you can feel that in your body.
Yeah.
And so now if you can focus on that and feel that in your body, you can choose to change it because you are now the instrument.
Yeah.
And so like he has learned how to regulate that and keep his body temperature as such no matter what is happening around him.
Right.
Because now he's able to tune out other frequencies and focus on this one. No matter what the outside is, he has now that shield, that coronal shield like the earth has.
Yeah.
That's blocking out all the other things so that they can still be as is without being penetrated.
Right. And that's one of the things they talk about in the Kabbalion. They talk about the principle of vibration is that if you begin to understand this nature, the nature of the universe in this within this concept, then everything is a vibrational frequency. Everything that exists is a vibrational frequency that can be manipulated by the mind, which is the principle of mentalism, my other favorite.
All is mind.
We haven't covered that yet. Have we not covered that?
All is mind? Nah,
I think we got close.
Maybe kind of in the power of the mind, but
we'll have to go back to that one.
Definitely.
But that's what I mean. It's like when you begin to understand that the vibration of the mental has a profound and direct control over the physical, then understanding that the mind can affect the body becomes rudimentary. You begin to understand that that's just how things are. And that's, and people go, well, then why can't we just control everything? Well, there's a difference between thought and belief. And that's hard for people to understand. Having a random thought is not the same as having a belief. A belief is something that is inherent. It's something that's a part of you. It's not even something that you even question anymore. Like, we believe that if you jump off a building, gravity is going to pull you to the ground. We believe that. So
to us, there's no point of analyzing it.
Right. We believe that. There's no actual doubt in your mind about it, that if I jump off a building, gravity is going to pull me to the ground. And that understanding is a profound belief. People don't understand that believing things that are against the programming that we've had is difficult. Okay. It's very difficult.
Very difficult. Like, you are punching cement walls. Like, you are.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's very tough because the construct is so thick.
And here's the thing: it's not the construct; it's the programming. So the base part of the brain, the animal brain that we all have, is based on instinct and impulse and all the primal thoughts and instincts that we have. They come from there. When you attack a fundamental belief of someone, you literally trigger that small animal brain to experience pain. So when you challenge someone's belief system, they literally feel pain, and their brain translates that as pain, and therefore they reject it out of hand because it's hard. So when you're talking about changing this fundamental concept of reality, you're literally changing people's minds, and that's really, really difficult to do.
It's very difficult, and it makes me think of the Matrix and how they conceptualize it with the agents.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You go against the system, the agents are coming for you. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
The agents are coming.
And the agents are all in your mind. They are concepts and ideas that will force you back into conformity with what has been. And so when you're trying to adopt this concept, you're literally trying to alter the neural pathways of your mind and thus alter your vibration. It's a difficult process, but once you begin to do it, your brain gets more and more and more and more used to it. You begin to rewire your brain and thereby rewire your vibrational frequency. When you rewire your vibrational frequency, everything in your life changes. Ask anyone who used to drink and got sober. Everything around you changes. Everybody that used to be your friend usually starts to drift away. They don't want to hang out with you anymore because you don't drink. You end up with family members who reject you, stuff like that, because you've literally changed your frequency now. And the way you vibrate has a direct impact on the world around you. Because, okay, we're going to get into universal harmony in a minute, but your vibration affects the vibrations around you, and that includes other people. people who are at an opposing frequency to you or at a lower vibrational frequency than you will literally get irritated by your presence once you raise your vibration. You will become uncomfortable for them. There's my wife went, she had a job and she was there was someone there who she didn't need to be there anymore, who had a very low vibration. And she told one of her coworkers, like, yeah, this person has to go. And they're like, what are you going to do? It's like, nothing. I'm just going to raise my vibration and we're going to move her on to something better. And they're like, what do you mean? It's like, this vibration is for this person to move on to something better. Within 3 months, that person was gone. Just completely gone. And it was because that they found a better idea of how to live their life. They retired and moved out of the company. And it's not that you are doing harm. You're literally just saying, I want something that a higher vibrational frequency in this office. So someone with a lower vibrational frequency will immediately begin to feel uncomfortable and want to leave.
But see, that's the way things. So the idea of how it doesn't matter how far away the electrons are, like
quantum entanglement.
Yeah, they communicate simultaneously.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how far away because distance is not, but separation is not.
It's an illusion.
It's an illusion.
It's like being still and being separate. It's an illusion.
And so for them to communicate an idea, whether they said it to them or not, they communicated the idea and it was strong enough to send off a wave or communicate with them. Is that and then now that person feels it psychically and they're like, I want to go. Well, but it's like it's almost kind of like you're getting psychically jumped. You know what I mean?
It's not getting psychically jumped. We could debate that
energetically. And I want to be careful with how I said it. It's not like we sending the army at you. You know, somebody sending, and then you got your spiritual goons like, "Hey, yo, we about to jump your ideas, fam. We here for your brain." Like, whoop whoop, bang bang. I want to go home. Yeah, you better. We getting you out of here. It's like, whoa, not like that, but kind of like that.
Well, yeah, the first thing you have to understand is thoughts are things. And
thoughts are things.
People don't get that thoughts are things. Every thought that you have has an energetic component to it. It has an energetic frequency. So whenever you think of a thought and you dwell upon a thought and you give intent to that thought, you put energy into that thought, you are making it a more profound vibration. So it's like, think of your mind as an instrument that you play. Whatever you dwell upon is the tune you are playing at the moment. The more energy you put into it, the stronger the note. The stronger you strum, the bigger the drum beat. The more you put thought into that thing and focus on that thing, the more profound the beat, the more profound the vibration. And when you start to do that in an intentional basis, rather than the random thoughts that we always have, you are now making this a more intense vibrational frequency that affects your environment around you. So when you do this for yourself and you begin to say, okay, I want to be this new type of person, and I'm focusing on self-love, I'm focusing on self-awareness, I'm focusing on being a more controlled, more intentive person, where I'm doing things because I mean to, not because of trauma from my past, or bad memories that I have about things, or preconceived notions that I have about people, or biases that I have about people. I'm simply being in the moment and intentionally thinking these particular thoughts. The more you become skilled at that, because it is a skill, the more intense your vibration becomes and the more effect you have on the environment around you and the people around you.
Yeah, and I feel like that can even be proven like with the people around you, like our heart space. What does it say? It extends 3 feet outside of you. That alone, imagine where a lot of people's hearts are at any given time. At any given time, but and the trauma that you carry, also the love that you carry. Yeah, that's powerful.
And that's my point. It's like we think of ourselves as this meat suit that we're riding around in. We forget about the heat and the radiation and the light that our cells give off, the electromagnetic field that surrounds us, that we literally give off every day. And that's just the scientific stuff that we can study. We give off this field all the time. It's constantly interacting with the air around us and the people around us and the environment that we live in. this vibration is constantly going out. It's constantly being sent out. And on a consciousness level, you have your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, and your shadow, each of which are vibrating all the time. And they literally attract the things in your life that match your frequency. If you are a low vibrational person, you will get low vibrational friends, you will get low vibrational opportunities, you will get low vibrational events that happen in your life. If you are a higher vibrational person, you will get higher vibrational friends, higher vibrational opportunities, and higher vibrational events that take place in your life. That doesn't mean bad things aren't going to happen to you, because you don't live in a vacuum. Other people can affect that. Sometimes life can just affect that, because there's the universal vibration going on as well, which is, I won't say separate from you, but that it's sort of like you're the salt in the soup. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, the soup is still soup and it's still boiling, and you're a part of that. So yes, you add flavor to it, but you're a part of that soup. So the universal vibration itself also affects you. There are things that are more profound than you that are moving, and you're a part of that movement. You're like, you're a raft in the ocean. The ocean is still the ocean. It's going to do what it's going to do. So, and if you understand that, and you understand you're part of it, then you understand that you have two choices when you're on, say, the river that is that is our lives. You can either choose to just be a victim, and the river is just sort of sweeping you along, and you bang against every rock you come in contact with, or you can build yourself a raft. And then the more skilled you become at understanding and tweaking the vibrations that come from you and that affect the environment around you, the more skilled you become, the better your raft. And so eventually you go from riding on a log to, an actual constructed raft, to a small boat, a little dinghy with some oars maybe, and then maybe a sailboat with some sails that you can control and a rudder. And then eventually, if you get really good at it, you get yourself a speedboat and you know how to navigate, and you know how to navigate well. That's the whole point of trying to gain
Welcome to halftime. Give yourself and your mind a moment to rest. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose. And slow, deep breath out through the mouth. Focus only on your breath. Take another slow, deep breath in. And another slow, deep breath out. Feel better? Good. We want to take this moment to thank you for listening and watching this podcast. We hope you take something positive from it. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment your light bulb moments. We also want to thank one of our biggest sponsors that make this podcast possible, Podcastic. Check them out at podcasticlife.com. Back to the wisdom.
But I want to go into something because cymatics.
Yes, I love cymatics, but I feel like that is, they need to teach that in schools, man, like that, and it would be such cool, it would make such cool experiments too as well. But
if they do, then again, you're teaching just with sound, but sound is simply a vibrational frequency of the movement of air, right?
Yes,
that our ears interpret. With cymatics, they're literally figuring out how vibration can destroy cancer cells, specific cancer cells. They're figuring out how vibration can encourage healing in the body. They're figuring out how vibration can alter brain chemistry. All of these things are things that science is beginning to discover that the principle of vibration already knew. So when you're talking about cymatics, you're really talking about the manipulation of vibration. That skill in and of itself is what the mystics were talking about, but on a more profound level. The universe itself has its own frequencies. Those frequencies are far beyond what we are and what we can understand. They're big, gigantic, ultra complex frequencies. Think of it like the difference between a kazoo and a symphony orchestra. Okay, We got our little kazoo.
So are we the kazoo?
We are the kazoo.
Wow. I ain't gonna lie, I kind of like the kazoo.
I'm a fan, but I'm saying
I'm not mad at the kazoo. I like it. I'll give me one of them little plastic kazoos out the 25-cent machine. I remember that. I tried to play
dollar
it.
store.
Yeah, I tried to play it, thinking I was doing something. I'll add it to my list of instruments.
When you're a little kid, it's everything.
Yeah.
You're just making noise. Think of it along those lines. When you're young and you're starting to figure things out, playing a kazoo is just, I'm making a beat in my head and I'm just kazooing it up. When you become an adult, you want something more complex as an instrument. So you move to something a little bit more complicated. The same thing applies here. The universal vibration is a symphony. What we are here to learn is how to play our instrument in harmony with that symphony. The better we get at playing our instrument, which is us, the more we can contribute to the symphony and become a part of the symphony. The moment you do, it is a profound thing. I literally have 2 moments in my life that I call the moment of awe. And these are moments that were so profound that, I literally get misty talking about them, because I had a moment when I was in tune with that universal harmony, and you can see, feel, and understand everything all at once. It is both overwhelming and warm and comforting and terrifying at the same time to know that everything is so big, so complex, and that we are a part of that.
And it makes you part of it. It's almost like it acknowledges you within it, and the acknowledgement within it is like, yo.
Exactly.
It's kind of like, okay, yeah, I know the universe exists. I know it's the all. I know it's in everything. I know it's in me. But then one day, in its universal way, as it always want to do, it's gonna want to pop up and then be like, hi, I'm here, and then disappears. Like, whoa, wait a minute! I saw you! I freaking saw you!
But that's the thing; it doesn't disappear. Our vision, closes.
That moment of realization,
right,
is so like it's usually pretty quick. The moment of realization is pretty quick, because it's almost like when you're in a dream and you realize you're dreaming and you wake up.
Yeah,
it's like, oh wait, it happened. I seen it. It did it. Universe, you were here. I saw you. I see you now.
And that's the thing.
The
reason for our limitation, the reason for our ability to stay in this physical form and to be limited to our specific vibrational frequencies, because living in that universal harmony is bliss. It is pure, unadulterated bliss, and there is no reason to do anything else.
It's better than doing the sax.
Well,
I would say. It's better than that.
But that's my point. You can't have that. You can't have that without leaving the universal harmony. It is so profound that you never want to leave. You never want to be separate from it. But in order to learn and grow, you have to be separate from it. And it means you can connect to it. Not connect to it. You're always connected to it. Getting to a place where you can realize that connection and realize how profoundly it influences everything, and it puts things in perspective. So I was talking to some of my students the other day, and I was telling them, I was like, when I really want someone to when someone's telling me about a major problem that they have, like, I got all these bills and I got all this stuff going on, and my girl's mad at me, my parents are all upset, and blah 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 blah, and they're talking about what they're talking about. I take them outside. And I'm like, keep talking, let them talk. And then, say, okay, now take a breath, close your eyes. And I let them breathe for a minute. And I'm like, okay, now open your eyes and look up. Look at the vastness of the stars and think about the planet that we're on and the solar system that we're in and the galaxy that we're a part of and the superclusters that we're a part of. And think about everything out into the edge of the universe. Now come all the way back in, and I want you to think about your body. Then I want you to think about the molecules that make up every part of it, and the billions of atoms that make up every molecule. And then go down to the quarks that make up the atoms that make up everything else. All right, now come back to where you are now and tell me how important your light bill is.
Shabuya.
I mean, because ultimately there's a solution. There's a solution to everything. There's a solution to everything. There always is a solution. People say, well, there's no solution. There is a solution to every single problem we've ever encountered.
But that goes back to what we believe or think is impossible.
Well, and that's what I mean. That blindness that we are handicapped with is self-imposed. When your vibration is low, you limit your opportunities. You don't even see better opportunities when your vibration is low. You can't attract better opportunities when your vibration is low. When you are out of harmony with the universe, when you are in discord with the universe. So like if you're in a relationship and the universe is trying to get you to leave, or you're at a job and the universe is trying to get you to leave, it will make you leave. The vibration will become so untenable that you will have no choice but to leave. Or in my case, it will dissolve the entire job altogether.
So you can't even go back to it.
Well, it's straight up. There was an environment that I was in that I when I had a heart attack. It was the last IT job I worked. And it was so bad for me because my vibration had gotten so high that the vibration in there was so low that I ended up having a heart attack. And my body was like, okay, look, I can't deal with this. And the universe was like, okay, I'm going to dissolve the entire division. Everyone who does the job that you do is gone.
But see, that's the universe, and it's wild because it's like, again, like that frequency illness.
Yeah,
you are at a higher vibration, so it's like when you go into these lower vibratory places, it's kind of like it's hard to remain at that state, and being at the lower state so long will affect you.
Yeah, you'll either raise the vibration in a place or it will lower your vibration.
Yeah, especially if it's because one person can only do so much, and so and if you're in a place where you're not, your mission or your goal is not to, go in there and raise the vibration to where you're at, then it's like, you're just taking punches at that point.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That's when now you're getting, okay, but not. But like, it reminded me of like when one of my last jobs that I had, it was sucking the life out of me. And I was like, yo, like, I can't do this. Like, to the point I wrote a resignation letter, never sent it. And the universe was like, okay, you ain't got to, I will.
I got you. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry. Oh yeah, it's already sent. All right, cool. Yeah. Boop. Well, wait a minute. I wasn't expecting. Doesn't matter. You're good now. You're out of there.
Move on to what you need to be doing.
Move on. Please get out of there. Exactly. I'm so thankful for it.
And that's the thing. When you start to live that life where you understand how to navigate the vibrational river that we are all in, and you begin to build that better raft and begin to understand that you are not just supposed to be in the water getting bounced off the rocks, hoping that the next rock doesn't hurt so bad. You're supposed to be guiding yourself. You're supposed to be swimming. You're supposed to be building the raft. You're supposed to be building your ship so that you can get better at navigating this. When you begin to realize that, you start to cast away all the people, things, and everything that are tying you, they're weighing you down, and that are anchors to your progress. And for instance, I tell people all the time about your vibrational circle. Who is in your vibrational circle? And are they the same frequency as you, or are they a lower vibrational frequency dragging you down? And this is not the reason I hesitate to tell people this, because people are arrogant and they tend to believe I'm the high vibrational person in my life. Not necessarily. If you are not doing self-examination and shadow work to figure out exactly who you are and what you are, then it's a very good chance you're the low vibrational person. If you're looking at, if everybody else is the problem, then you're the problem. And that's what you need to understand. One of the things I put on Facebook the other day was that I have been toxic. I understand that I have been that bad person that has been not great for other people's lives. I've been that lower vibrational person and had to realize, yeah, that was me. And in that realization, realize, okay, I need to change this about myself to raise my vibration. And in doing so, made progress. And thus, like you said, when you know better, do better. So you have to be self-aware enough to know when you're the low vibrational person and to actively work against the things that keep you at a low vibration. It's not always other people. Sometimes it's baggage, things that you refuse to let go.
Yeah, but see, now you're getting into the work of what it takes to be in this life. You know what I mean? Because it's like You know, I hate to keep going back to, you know, people getting energetically jumped.
You got some energetic violence going on in there.
Yeah, I don't know what, but see, maybe it's the energetic violence of me trying to raise my vibration amongst the lower vibration environments.
Yeah.
You know, because that could be the thing where now your mindset is battling against the mindset that would be conductive to being in that lower vibrational space.
Yeah.
And so now those two mindsets are combating. That is a war.
Oh yeah, internally.
That is an internal battle. That is a war. So now you got to send your gang against their gang and see how. Let's see who Adams got it. You know what I mean? Let's see who got it. You know, but at the end of the day, it's still a lot of you facing you. And not just you facing you, but you accepting you, and transmuting the parts of you that are no longer conducive to you being in a higher vibration, that doesn't lead you to bigger and better things, that doesn't actualize the vision that you wish to create for the life that you want to live in.
Absolutely.
And so a lot of times for people, that can be extremely difficult because, you know, I recognize I'm using a lot of, you know, conceptual terms, but like doing a lot of that shadow work is tough. It's not easy. And it's, I don't want to say it's not for everybody. It is for everybody, but it's just some things that people aren't always willing to accept and face because that involves telling the truth and knocking down a lot of those mental structures that you have had probably your entire life.
Oh yeah.
And then having to rebuild it. So like it's almost like that putting your hand through the table. You know, you're putting your hand through it, but now you have to like at some kind of point become it and recognize it from that point of view and then transmute it to being the you that wants to be on the other side of that table. And that is an alchemical process that could be quite difficult for some to do or to realize.
Well, you're literally talking about like, I use this when I talk to my students about the human body actually replaces every cell in the body in every 7 years. You physically become a completely different person every 7 years because your old cells die and your new cells take over. The same thing applies when you're talking about your mental body. Your old baggage, the old you, the traumas and things that you've gone through become habits. So when you believe, and this is how profound the principle of vibration is. When you believe something to be true, it becomes rooted in your concept of self. The things you believe become real. So when you believe that you are less than, when you believe what even if it's someone else who originally told you, once you internalize that, it becomes a part of your mental construct, your mental body, and you begin to vibrate that frequency. So if you don't love yourself, if you don't, value what you contribute, if you don't think you're good enough, those things become a part of your vibrational frequency. The same applies, when you start to feel better about you, when you become more confident. But here's the thing, when you try to become more confident, you are literally battling your new self versus your old self. Your old self wants to remain alive. It wants to keep those same concepts. You have to kill your previous universal body, your previous mental body, in order to become the new mental you.
I don't want to kill it.
You have no choice.
But what's the universe police come get me? That is a crime.
You cannot, that which is positive cannot exist in the same environment as something negative. Truth. You cannot have love and hate in the same environment. They're polar opposites. Okay, you cannot have belief and doubt in the same concept. They're opposing vibrational frequencies. They will repel each other. What you doubt is not true. What you believe is absolute truth. You see what I'm saying? So
absolutely.
So if you truly believe something, then
it must be.
Then it becomes your truth, and it literally changes the way you see everything. I tell people all the time about the reticular activating system, that part of your brain that recognizes why when you buy a new car, why that you see that car everywhere.
I see it everywhere.
Right. When you believe in yourself and you have confidence in who you are and you're telling yourself the truth, your reticular activating system will begin to show you those opportunities. It will begin to make those opportunities clearer and more profound for you to see. And then you'll be like, wait a minute, why didn't I see this before? It's because you couldn't see it before.
Yeah, and I think a part of what some of that could be is the focus we have on the how.
Yeah, the how. Yeah,
Sometimes it's like we could want something, but how it will come to us might be different than the way that we saw that or that would better than the way that we thought it would come to us.
Yeah.
Right. So you might go along and say, like, you know what? I would like to drive a Lamborghini. I would like to have a Lamborghini. I think that would be cool. Right. Mm-hmm. And then somebody walks up to you and is like, hey, I would like to give you this Mercedes Benz. But you're like, I kind of want a Lamborghini. The Mercedes Benz is cool, but I would much rather drive a Lamborghini.
If somebody wants to give me a Lamborghini or a Mercedes, I'm down for either.
Now see here's where that would get you. Now you will say, you know, one person would be like, nah, I want the Lamborghini. You like, yeah, but that Benz is kind of nice. Let me ride in that Benz for a while. You know, it's an AMG. That's a lot of car. You know, I could take off in one of those. It ain't the Lamborghini, but you know, I could race one. You know, I could race one in an AMG. We'll see how this goes. And so you get that Mercedes Benz, and you're like, you know what? Let me go fill this thing up full tank of gas. You go to the gas station, and there's somebody else there at the gas station with the Lamborghini, brand new, and they said, you know what? That's a nice Benz you got there. Thank you. That's a Lamborghini. That's a nice Lamborghini you got over there. I'd like one myself. I kind of wanted one, but I got this Benz. You know what? How about we trade?
That's a lot.
What?
That's a lot. I mean, I'm down for that scenario, but I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. That you gotta recognize the value of whatever circumstances come your way, and even if they don't come in the way that you expect. And I get that. The problem we have, I think you're correct, is that we're too focused on how it's going to come to us, and we immediately inject doubt into how it's going to come. Because as soon as we say, okay, I want this Lamborghini, the first thing that comes is, well, how am I get the money to get the Lamborghini?
Yeah.
And then you're thinking, okay,
we know Lamborghinis are expensive.
Right. And then you start thinking,
sure the insurance is too.
Well, I work at Wendy's, so I can't get a Lamborghini and so you start thinking it's not possible, and you begin to doubt the possibility of it immediately because you've limited your thinking to the how. And if you can't currently conceptualize the how, you immediately say that it's not possible, and you lose your belief.
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of things that we feel based on the lives that we've lived, that there are things that are unattainable unless we are a certain person or have certain things. And it's like, well, you know, a lot of those things can just come to you sometimes. It's possible.
It's possible, but I disagree on this note. I don't believe in wishing. Wishing is lazy.
Well, wishing is implying that you hope that you get something. So if you're in a perpetual state of hoping, you never have.
Right, because you never do. I'm a believer in will working, in that I understand this concept of vibration as a true, believable and living thing. It's a part of who I am. It is a belief. It is not something that I'm like, okay, I kind of think. No, I know that this is how this is. And if I understand that concept, then the only barrier between me and the things that I attain is simply the will to do it. And that will is what drives the intensity and the strength of that vibration. You can have the intent, which is the idea or concept to say, this is what I want. I want this Lamborghini. But you have to also have the will to say, I am going to manifest this vibration in the mental, spiritual, and physical planes at such an intensity that the universe has no alternative but to bring this vibration to fruition in my life. If you understand the concept that I'm constantly emitting this vibration, then I am now tweaking my internal vibration to reflect to the universe, I deserve and am going to get a Lamborghini.
And the universe can be like, order up.
Order up. Order up.
Order up.
It will. The universe reflects, and this is where that universal harmony comes in. The universe reflects the vibration that you emit. So if you're emitting a 7.53, kilohertz vibration, it's going to reflect a 75.3 kilohertz vibration back at you. It's more intense, but it's the same frequency. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, because it's coming from obviously coming from something very large,
Right.
which would be the all. But it's like speaking more or sending a signal. It's like an acknowledgement of, all right, hey, I'm gonna send it. Like I'm gonna click this flashlight, click. You hear me? You see me? And the universe comes back. Yeah, click. I see you.
Exactly.
And it's just gonna talk to you how you talk to it.
Right. It reflects. The universe reflects what you are. Not what you tell it, not what you kind of lie about or kind of believe. It reflects what you are. If you believe you deserve these things, and I don't mean kinda, I don't mean I want to believe, I mean if you believe I deserve these things, I will have these things, and I am willing to do what is necessary to get these things, the universe will give you exactly what you want.
There is a certain story in the Bible which talks about there are these two brothers, and they have a father who was losing his sight, and he was going to bestow blessings upon one of the sons, and he told him, he said, hey, when you go out, I want you to go, basically go hunt, give me some food, bring back my favorite dish, basically, right? Mm-hmm. And so while he was out, the mother told the other son, like, hey, I just whipped up this dish, whoop whoop, go over there and tell him this is it. But the father can't necessarily see. Mm-hmm. And so he said, he brought the dish over to him, he put his hands, he said, are you the one that I sent out to go and get this? He said, I am. He may not have been the one that he said, but he said, I am. He claimed that. Mm-hmm. And so therefore he got what the brother was
supposed to get,
allegedly supposed to get. Mm-hmm. And so he laid claim to it. So it's kind of, hey, universe, I am. You know what I mean? In a way of accepting what it is that you want, not necessarily taking or stealing.
So, I was gonna say that was shady as hell, dog.
I mean, there's other things to it, to where
that was shady as hell.
Well, there's more to the story, and before that, the other brother actually gave up the rights to that, and so therefore he accepted. But yeah, it's kind of showing up. It's showing up for work.
Well, and that's the thing, is like showing up for yourself. And work on self is literally like I said, this whole vibrational work. Like when we get into all of these concepts and all these different practices, I love the Kabbalion because it doesn't matter which practice you're talking about, whether you're talking about a religious practice or a magical practice, or you're talking about philosophical practice. These are all ways of manipulating this fundamental law, which is everything vibrates. So when you're talking about, I'm doing meditation, you're talking about altering the vibration of mind and spirit, mind, body, and spirit. Mm-hmm. That is literally manipulating the principle of vibration. So when you're talking about yoga, you're talking about manipulating the body and the mind and the spirit through these specific movements. When you're talking about chi mastery, you're literally talking about manipulating the vibration of your chi to achieve certain things. All of these things are really talking about the same thing with different names and different labels depending on the culture they come from.
There's just denominations and labels on a specific practice to do so, to do the same thing.
And I tell people all the time, like I said, people are like, well, I'm Christian, I can't do any of that. So I'm like, yeah, you can. You do it every single time you go to church. Go to church and have the pastor give you a seriously profound sermon where you get swept up in that, in that understanding. What he is doing is he's using the words of the Bible to put an idea or concept into your head so that you understand this connection to the divine in a way that is profound. And thus your mind, your body, and your spirit are moved. Your body is affected because you get all hyped up. Let the band get the playing, and you're getting the choir going, and everybody's singing, and people are up and dancing, and the Holy Spirit is taking over people. That literally is the manipulation of mind, body, and spiritual vibrations to take you to a higher vibrational frequency. It's all the same stuff. We just use different labels for it.
Yeah, and I had question this recently about traditionally in Black Baptist churches, like you get a lot of whooping, they call it. It's when they use their, change their voice inflections when they're giving their sermon.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting because I've seen it all my life. If you go to church, you've seen it. You know what it is when it's happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Usually it happens towards the end of the pastor's sermon.
Yeah, we try to make a point.
Yeah. They get towards the end, and then the music comes in, and I'm like, oh, have you ever, been on a roller coaster, but with your emotions.
Yeah.
It's taking you like that. It's just like music, and it's just the way that you're describing. And I think that's very interesting, the way, you know, when they're taking a certain concept and explaining it in a way that you can connect to the divine, and doing it in that way to make it even to make it resonate even further, because now you're creating an experience. You know, it's very, very interesting that we do it without knowing it, and it's such a big part of.
Oh yeah, everybody's doing it. The question is only, are you doing it intentionally or unintentionally? Most people are doing it unintentionally. They're just walking around and things happen, and they're like, wow, I wonder why that happened. I wonder why this person I've been thinking of for the last week just suddenly called me. I wonder why.
Well, that thoughts become things. That thought form has now expanded to where
we won't even get into thought forms, bro. That's a whole nother concept.
Oh man,
we're gonna have to do a show on thought forms.
I would love to.
That's a show.
Love to.
That's a show.
Because I deal with that in meditation as well. It's very. It's very mental. It's a very mind thing. I love the thought form concept.
When you start to understand that thoughts are things, that thoughts have vibration, thoughts are active. They're not just something that just, oh yeah, well, it passed through my mind. Random thoughts don't mean that much, but anything you put any intensity into, anything you dwell upon, it has an effect on you and the environment around you. And the more you understand that, and the more you begin to control how this tool of yours works, and this connection that you have works, the better you get at that, the more profound of an effect you will have on your own life and the lives of those around you. You become less of a victim, and you become more empowered to control your own destiny, and to stop waiting for the world to just give you something, and you simply say, this is who I am, this is what I want, this is what I deserve, and this is what I'm willing to do to get it.
Gotta love Bill.
I love it.
It seems as though we are coming upon time. We're coming upon time. We got to get these people out of here. Our studio audience.
Send them back to their extra dimensional space.
Yeah. Is there any last ideas or thoughts you would like to leave us for the principle of vibration?
I would. Because this is a concept that it's very profound in my life, and I hope that it can translate to others so that they can begin to understand the why behind a lot of this stuff. The principle of vibration is the tool. It is the law. The universal harmony, the creation of the universe, the destruction of the universe, all that is, the vibration, the frequency that it is love. And that is love of the all for every aspect of its creation, which is itself and us. If you understand that, and you're trying to find that way to be in harmony with that frequency, it all starts with love of self, love of life, love of others, love of the all, love of everything that is this existence. Beginning with that will get you in touch with that harmonic frequency, and you can be the one being that you are.
That read like poetry. That's tough to follow up. I'm not gonna lie. As far as the principle of vibration, I would just say it's a matter of being.
Yeah.
I mean, just be. Find that vibration and be.
Absolutely.
I will simplify it as that. Find that vibration and be. Again, we encourage questions, thoughts, any of that. Please let us know what you think. I hope you guys really, really, really enjoyed today, because I sure did.
Me too.
Don't watch out who you send your mind gang after. All right, you know what I'm saying?
That thug life, mental thug life.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. You got to be careful out here in these streets. Okay, you know what I'm saying. Stay protected. You know what I'm saying. Watch out. If you get them thought forms and hey,
the mind is a dangerous neighborhood in which you shouldn't go it alone.
It's dangerous out here. All right, we got sometimes you got to put them cheat codes in, like Grand Theft Auto, and and get yourself together. But you know, we'll work it out.
You went to Grand Theft Auto after that. You went to GTA 5 on it.
Yeah,
I feel you on that.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that's all we have for today.
Absolutely. I want to say thank you to everybody who supports the channel. I want to say thank you to Podcastic, who is our major sponsor, who definitely supports everything that we do. You know, shouts out to my boy HT. Appreciate you, bruh. And everybody who's a part of the show, we really appreciate it.
Yes, indeed. So that being said, thanks for listening or watching Lessons on Deeper Wisdom. Share with your mama, cousin, auntie, brother, them. All of those folks. Think higher and follow the light bulbs. Peace.